Hi Not Board Gamers, and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video we are going to be previewing the next game from Vital Lacerda, and of course it is this game right here, which is Speakeasy, designed by Vital Lacerda with the artwork of course by Ian O'Toole, and it's published by Eagle Griffin Games. And of course in my video, we're going to be looking at the solo of this. Now, Speakeasy, as I mentioned, is the next game from Vital Lacerda. It hits Kickstarter on the 26th of September. The link will be in the description below. So before we start, obviously this is a prototype, but like all of Vital's prototypes, the production quality is absolutely outstanding. I should imagine there's still going to be a few tweaks made here and there, maybe on some components and maybe to the rules themselves. I know since I've had the copy, there's been a couple of rules tweaks come through for the solo. But yeah, it's, you know, as it plays at the moment, it's pretty much there or thereabouts in the final form. So what is Speakeasy? Well, Speakeasy is set in one of my most favourite eras, and we're talking the Prohibition era, which ran from, and I'm just reading down here, from kind of 1921, the game runs up to 1931. I believe it ran in total for about 13 years. I know that's 10, but I believe it ran for about 13 years. And I absolutely love this era. Of course, you know, you think about films like The Untouchables, etc., where you've got mobsters setting up kind of speakeasies, and which is obviously the name of the game, and illegal distilleries to create, to make liquor and deliver liquor so that people could drink, which was against the law for 13 years, obviously in kind of 1920s, 1930s America. So you are going to play a kind of mobster, yeah? And you are going to try and expand your empire all over Manhattan. The map shows you Manhattan. It's split up into 3 districts. We've got downtown, midtown, and uptown as well. But not only are you going to try and kind of take over and monopolize the area and create the most liquor and take over other speakeasies, but there are other mobsters out there as well. You see, there's a mobster in the game, and that's going to spread each round as well. But in the solo game, you're going to play against an AI called Joe, and Joe is going to do the same thing as you are. They're going to try and build as many speakeasies and clubs and casinos as possible so they can get their liquor out there. You're going to be able to take over clubs from mobsters, not from Joe, but from other mobsters. There are ships sailing around Manhattan as well, or boats sailing around Manhattan, which you may be able to either buy from or you may be able to steal from as well. All the time, your family is growing. You're going to have some capos, so the heads of the families are going to go out and they're going to have the discussions for you. That's the main part of the game there, basically. You're going to have hired hands, which you're going to send out as well, and you need influence to send them out to protect your buildings. There are goons which are going to offer you additional protection, and you're going to form alliances as well with some of the other mob bosses that come out in the game as you expand your empire and you grow your kind of speakeasies and your illegal operations. You're going to rake money in, and money is going to come to 2 places. It's going to come either into cash in hand, which is used on a 1-to-1 basis, or it's going to go into your safe, and that's used on a ratio of 2-to-1 or 1-to-2. For every dollar you want to spend, it's going to cost you $2 basically if you're spending it from the safe. Why is that? Because you have to launder that money, and there's a cost to laundering money as well. So you're going to try and create liquor. You're going to try and deliver liquor using these fantastic little trucks that you have here. You want to sell that liquor. You want to send your goons out. You want to collect city tiles, which potentially give you additional actions. You want to put additional buildings on there because there's an area of element control in the game as well. And at the end of each round, what's going to happen is that you're going to score based on who's got the most of the right kind of buildings in the area, and the buildings can be either protected or unprotected, and there can be cops on there as well. You can see the blue figures. Cops are going to come out. New mobsters are going to come out each round. They're going to get stronger. You're going to have to defend from them as well, so you've got to make sure you've got the right kind of strength, and all the while you're trying to kind of increase your operation to become the most profitable, because at the end of the game, whoever's got the most money wins. Exactly the same for Joe. Joe is going to rack up their money in a slightly different way to you, but they're going to win if they have more money than you at the end of the game. Now, the game is ostensibly kind of 4 rounds. There's a setup round, which you're just kind of putting stuff out on the board, etc. And then you have 4 rounds. Round 1, you get to take 4 action. It's action selection. Rounds 2 and 3, you're going to take 3 actions, so you pull only 3 of your mob bosses back. And in the final round, what's going to happen is that you only get one action, so you're really building up to make sure you get a really good action at that end. In between all of those rounds, apart from the very end round, there's a mob war where you're going to have to defend from the mobsters on the board, and also kind of new mobsters are going to come out, so you've got an idea of who's coming out next and what their relative strength is going to be as well. But you have to defend from mobsters on the board if they're active in your area. So you have to make sure that you've got enough strength and enough defense to actually do that as well. So there's lots going on. And as I say, you've got kind of 1 round of 4, 2 rounds of 3, and then 1 round of 1, and then that's it, basically. So you've really got to make sure that you're doing the most. You know, it isn't a game where you kind of lay back and try and build things up slowly. You've really got to start from the get-go in trying to do things here. The solo is designed by David Turczi and I think Shelley Danielle as well. We're involved in the solo for it. So it's a Turczi solo. It's going to operate from a deck of cards, which is kind of this adaptive deck of cards. It's split up into a number of sections and you add new cards to it each round. So the actions potentially get a little bit more kind of aggressive as the game goes on. There are modifiers in there, so you can make the game easier or harder for yourself if you want. And Joe does operate slightly differently, but I'll explain that when I take you down to the table. So without much further ado, what we'll do is I'll take you down. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on round 2. So we just got to the end of round 1. So we'll go from round 2 and I'll take you through round 2 up to the beginning of round 3, and you get to see kind of everything. It's not a rules teach, it's just to give you an overview of the rules. I'm probably going to play suboptimally as well, just to show you what various things do. Don't worry about that in any way, shape or form. But hopefully you get to see everything that kind of happens in a round of Speakeasy from Vital Lacerda from a solo perspective. Right. Okay, so here you can see the game. It's set up. We are through kind of the first round. We just got to the end of the first round, and we're just about to start round 2. I want to go through briefly some of the stuff that's on here. I'm not going to take you through absolutely everything that's on here. So as you can see, the game is here's the game map, and you have Manhattan here, and this is essentially your playing area, if you like. So this is where everything's going to happen. At the top of the board, you have the various actions you can do. You can see right at the top there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 areas, and you can take 2 actions generally in most areas. Some of them are just 1 action. Starting off at the left allows you to play a distillery card, gain a goon for free, and then potentially strong arm a boat. And here's the boats. Here's the boat map here. Strong arm a boat and try and potentially either buy from there or, well, that's not buy, and try and potentially rob one of the boats, basically, or steal from a boat. Here, you have an action that allows you to get a family member into your VIP area and play a VIP card, as well as send one out to protect your buildings. Protecting buildings is really cool. Really key. You get to hire goons from here. Goons give you additional strength, and you also get an influence token as well if you take that. So here we have an influence token. Influence tokens are really important. You need influence to send your to send your family members out onto the board to protect your building. It doesn't quite work that you get all those actions. There's generally 2 spaces, and wherever you put your captain means that you will follow what's down on there. Anything in a box that's wide like that is generally you're going to take, or you can take both of those actions, or one or both of those actions if you want. If there's a solid line between it, it follows down from wherever you place your captain. So all of the actions are optional except on this one here, which is where you go to the restaurant, and that allows you to change your who goes first, basically. There you have to discard a card and change the order there, the player order. This one allows you to get a helper card, which are these here, which gives you can use them at the beginning of your round, basically. They've also got these individual bottle, or potentially individual bottles at the bottom. That will give you points, money at the end of the game. Or it allows you to move up 1 on your tracks here. As you've got various tracks, you have the VIP room, you have kind of the music one, which allows you to sell liquor. VIP is how many family members you can have in your VIP area to send out at any one time. This is your stills, so it allows you then to produce liquor. This is your truck, which is this little thing here. You start the game with 1, and you could potentially get another one as well, which allows you to deliver liquor out on the board. And down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see here, there's a yellow one. Just down here, and this is your strength, which is very important. So that allows you to move up on any one of the tracks. When you move up on a track, you're also going to move up on the infamy track here. And that has various boons. First of all, it affects the price of the liquor that you're selling. Secondly, it will unlock certain things. So you can get an additional family member here. You get an action card and a helper card here, and that changes as you go up. You get additional stuff to put into the safe as well, money to put into the safe, and it allows you these kind of scoring things where you're going to cook the books and put those on there, but we'll talk about that in a bit. It also allows you to get an associate, this one as well. So you've got mobsters on the far side of the board. You can actually hire them. You can have them as an associate, and you put them on the board, you get some additional powers, and then you can pay to use their strength for various things. This one allows you to get a book into this area here on your board, which then allows you to put it out on the board and then claim goals as you go on. Or if you're going down this one, you get to get a helper card here. And then it allows you to build up to 2 buildings. This is a stills and a speakeasy. They have different costs on the board. So these are the smaller square ones here, and the still is the one with the chimney on it. That's going to allow you to produce liquor, and the speakeasies, of course, where you can actually start selling your liquor to and then selling the liquor from there. This one allows you to build either a club or a casino, and they're really important because, first of all, they score more at the end of the game, so the more of them that you got out at the end of the game, then the better. You sell liquor from them at a higher price than you do from speakeasies, and also if you have an operating casino, when the round order changes, you get an additional five bucks at the end of that round as well. Then you can either play an action card, or you can play a music card and move up on one of the tracks. This allows you to move up on one of the tracks. It then you play a transport card, which is your truck, and it increases the movement by 2, and that one allows you to deliver liquor to somewhere. Then we go to the end, and this is if any of the spaces are all taken and you want to go where another character's gone. You would send your captain here, but you wouldn't. You'd put it wherever you want it to go. Send one of the other characters over here. If it's yours that gets sent by Joe, then you get to claim any of these benefits. If it's Joe's that gets sent, then what happens is that you would just give them $5. So that's kind of the lay of the board here. You have various goals out here as well. And this is where you will cook your books. You can only cook your books, though, if you've got them on your board, basically. So you have to take an action to get them onto your board first, and then cook the books, send them out, claim the bonuses which go into your safe. So we have these 2 zones here. We have these along the bottom here. We have these here, and then up the infamy track. So there's a number of ways to actually kind of get more cash and score more points on your goals. Okay, so this is the docks area. This is where you can start sending your heavies to. Joe will potentially send some heavies out there as well. That's really important because at the bottom of here, there are three icons which say where the ship is, basically, that you're going to attack, or where the boat is that you're going to attack. You'd multiply your strength by the total number of goons in there, not just yours, but anybody's in that particular area, and that gives you a strength that you can then attack the ships with. So getting goons, getting family members over to the docks is really, really important. Not goons, but family members over to the docks is really, really important. You also get to claim, if you put anybody in here, you get to claim whatever benefits are on there as well. You have to pay to use others. You have to pay them $1, and then you have to recall one of yours back to your VIP room, but that's a really good way to start getting these, to start attacking the ships and getting from there, because when you attack the ships, you get to get a crate tile, which is these things here. And these have various things. So first of all, this will give you a city tile, and then it will give you $3 for every action card that you have, up to a maximum of $24. Okay, so that is a one-time one, but some of them have ongoing effects. So let's just see, here we go, this one. So this would give you $6 for every family member you have in your VIP area, but it would then give you a permanent +1 strength when you're defending or attacking against a mobster. Okay, so some of them have permanent effects, some of them have kind of one-time use effects, and that's the ships. And when you attack a ship successfully, you take a barrel from there, you put it in your stills area, then you move the boat onto the next available. So if I attack the purple, it would move on to there. If I'd attacked this white one down here, it would move to there, because that's the next, that's the next available boat space. Okay, so that's the docks area. Now, as you can see throughout these various zones, downtown, midtown and uptown, there's a number of buildings on there. The red ones are the mob bosses. This is the games bosses, if you like, yeah? And when they are unveiled about where they're going to go, what's going to happen is that they are going to put a speakeasy on each of those. All right, that means they score at the end of the round, basically, depending on how many areas they have total control on. Okay, and the end of each round, there's money to be made. If you control more areas, the more areas you control, the more money you make, basically. You can take those over, okay? But you have to have a look at the strength that's on each of these. So, for example, in Area 3, we have a mob boss who's got a strength of 4. That means if I was to build in Area 3 and try and take over any of those, I would have to have a strength of more than 4. At the moment, my strength is 2. So I would potentially need to have an alliance with another mob boss, basically, who would be on my board here, who I could pay to give additional strength. Or I could hire goons as well, because you can hire goons. They go on your board, basically, there. They start off from 0 to hire 1, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The more goons you get, the more strength you have. The one-time use, you chuck them off, and then you have to hire goons again. So if we have a look at the mob boss that's on Area 3, where that token was, let's just do this. Here we go. So we can see on Area 3, we have William Big Bill Dwyer, okay? Strength of 4. And if I hire him, what would happen is, sorry, if I get an associate with him, it would give me a permanent ability, which is, I don't think it cost me anything to use him, so it would be 0 there. I can't remember what that icon is exactly. But then it would give me 5 strength if I was to use him for anything that I want to do. The only thing you can't use them in, you can use them for taking over buildings, you can use them for defending, you can't use them for attacking ships, so you've got to remember that, basically. And each one has a slightly different power on them. Okay? So that's kind of that part of the board in terms of the mob bosses that come out. There's also policemen on there. Policemen, they increase each round. Eventually they'll be over the entire map. And that comes down to either protected or unprotected building. A protected building is where there's a family member against it. That means it almost negates the policeman there, basically. But you have an unprotected building like this one here. It means if there's a policeman there, when it comes to the end scoring, then what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to count that building for end scoring because the policeman is there. So you've got to kind of watch for this as the game goes on as well. Now you can see, this is the solo game. There's some of these blocker tiles here. Okay, so there's 5. At the beginning of the game, you're going to randomly choose 5 areas using some tiles, basically. And that's where you're going to put those blockers. 2 in downtown, 2 in midtown, 1 in uptown, effectively. You can also see here, right, these are mobster tiles. This tells me that at the end of the next round, basically, mobsters are going to come out in Area 16 and Area 15. That's just random how they've gone. And I know when they come out, they're going to have a strength of between 6 and 8 because it tells me on the top of the board there. So if I've got anything here and here, which I have, I'm green, I've got to think about the strength of protecting those, all right? Because looking at this, they're going to come out with between 6 and 8 strength, depending on who comes out there. That means that I need to have the ability to increase my strength or have an associate in place or have enough goons that I can cover all my buildings. If I don't, they will remove my building from the game. They'll place one of their red buildings on there. So defense is really, really important. If, however, at the end of the round, there's a mobster there and they haven't placed a building or haven't taken over a building in a contested area, then you flip their tile over and you move their mob tile from the game, and that's it. You kind of successfully defended that area. Each of the spaces where you place a building has got one of these city tiles on it, which is these here. There are a number of them in the game. Various ways to get them, taking over buildings. Some actions will allow you to take from here as well. Okay, and you put those on your board, and there's an action up here when you go to the restaurant that will allow you to use 2 of those. They will give you some boons there. So effective timing of what city tiles you've got, when you're going to use them, is really, really, really important as well. So, and I think that's kind of it for the overrun of the board there. It looks like a lot when you're kind of starting, but trust me, once you've played a few rounds, it really starts to move very, very easily. Now, if we come down to your player board down here, I'll just move it right up just so you can see it here. We've got a number of things on here. This area here is your VIP room, okay? There are 4 spaces there, and this allows you a number of family members that you can put in there. Why do you need them in there? Because you want to send them out to protect your building, so you have to have them in there to protect your buildings. But you start the game only being able to have 1 in there because this is what's on this particular one here, which is your VIP room. You'll move that marker up, and as you move it up, you'll be able to have more in there, which gives you the opportunity to send more out for protection. Remember, Protections, having a protection on a building means it's classed as an operating building, and generally only operating buildings score in the game, basically. So if you've got unprotected buildings, they won't score. So therefore you can have buildings out there that you paid for that you're not optimizing on because you haven't got them protected. Okay, here we have kind of the music, the jazz, if you like, yeah? And you'd slot the card in here, and I'll explain how the cards work in a bit. This gives you the number of barrels that you're allowed to sell. So you can only sell barrels when you've got them next to operating buildings. So again, you need protection on a building to have a barrel outside there. When you sell a barrel, it gives you money directly into your hand. So as I mentioned, there's two ways you keep your money. There's the safe, which operates on a kind of, you have to pay double the amount to use that because you're laundering the money, or in your hand, which is ready cash and you can pay that straight away. So you have to sell barrels to get more money, and that money is dictated by where you are on the infamy track. So kind of moving up that infamy track is really, 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 really important. So getting up your, moving up your tracks on here to move up the infamy track means that potentially you get more money from selling your barrels. You understand how that works? It all start nicely tying together. Over here is your stills area. This is where you will keep your barrels. I've got stills on there, okay, which is the building over in the top right corner. This allows me to produce barrels, which I can then pick up from the stills and start delivering out onto the board, onto my buildings. So again, having that is really important as well. The number down here tells me how many barrels I can produce. Here is my transport area, okay? So this allows me to then use my trucks, load them with barrels from my stills, delivering them out to my buildings, and at the bottom here tells you how far it can move. There are other modifiers which will allow that. So to do this, you're going to get these action cards, okay? So you start the game with one of each action card. I'd say I'm in kind of round 2 now, so my action cards are different. And they've got a number of things on them, okay? So when you play these action cards, a lot of them have this here, which is your influence. This allows you the right amount of influence to send out your VIP members and protect your building, and that's based on where you are on the starting position up here. Now I did a round change at the end of the last one, and I'll explain how that works in a second, but that means that it cost me 2 influence to send a family member out. If I was in first place, it would cost me 4 influence, so you've got to make sure you have enough influence. That's dictated by the number at the top of the card that you will have slotted in here, and how many of these influence tokens that you've got at the same time as well. Okay, so we have here, you've got the influence, which is not on all of them. You'll have some which doesn't have any influence, and then you've got these 2 icons here which you get to kind of resolve when you play the card. So this would give me a book that allow me to put it in this area, which allow me to cook it, and it would allow me to sell some barrels if I had any barrels to sell. When you play a card, all you would do is slot it into the top, and there you have permanent influence there. Obviously, if you change the card, you can override the cards and put them, put the old ones back in the pile. So at the moment, I've got 2, 4, 5 influence had I played that particular card. And each card is different. So having the right amount of cards, or having the right cards for the right things, is really, really important. Having the ability to cycle through the card decks, which you can see at the top of the board, is really important to make sure that you get the right card. You want the maximum influence, but you're also going to be swapping and changing to do the actions on here. So it's not just the actions from the action selection, but also if there's certain things that allow you to play a card. For example, this one allows me to play a VIP card. This allows me to play any card. This allows me to play any card or a music card. And this one allows me to play a transport card. So you can double your actions effectively by choosing the right place and then having the ability to play a card. And as I say, they slot up there. This here is my token for my associate. So if I was to take one of those as an associate, what I would do is I would put that token on their area. So say I took number 3, I would put that token on there, and that would just remind me that I could not build any buildings in area number 3. Down here is where your captains go. So you've got 4 chairs here. Remember, kind of your first full round, you're starting off with 4. Rounds 2 and 3, you're going to start off with 3 of them. And then in the final round, round 4, you're going to start off with only 1. You're going to recall them and put them back here. Here's where your books go when you've put them onto your board so you can cook them. And down at the bottom of the board, down here, you can see your various buildings. We've got speakeasies. We got clubs, and we got casinos down here. They cost progressively more. However, when you're looking down here at the cost, what you can do is take off the cost of the highest cleared, fully cleared area that you got. So, for example, here I've cleared this. This means it would cost me 3 less to get any of these, basically. So getting those out on the board and then upgrading them is important, but also getting these nightclubs and the casinos out is really important because they score you more. So over here we have Joe's deck. So Joe starts with a few different components to you, and they've got a number of decks that they've got. So their decks are split from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 to mimic the rounds there. There are modifiers. You can add or remove 0 cards to various decks in there, basically, and that's going to drive Joe's action. So we'll look here at how Joe operates. And we got this card. This was the last one played in the round. What happens is it tells you where Joe's captain is going to go, and you generally put them on the leftmost one, okay? If it's not available, you put them on the rightmost one. If not, they would go to the park. If both spaces are taken, they would go to the park, basically, the park, and then switch that character out. Then, instead of following the actions on the top of the board, what you're going to do is follow these actions here. So Joe, first of all, moves 1 up on the green track. So move up on the green track, which moves them 1 up on the infamy track. Secondly, they would then place a speakeasy. And to do that, we have these district cards here, okay? So you turn one of these over until there's an available area. And if we look here, yeah, Joe did it. There we go. It was area 10, and you can see they put a speakeasy in area 10 there. Some of these cards have icons at the top. Like this one tells me to send one of Joe's family members to the docks. And it tells you which area of the docks it goes to. This one, let me find another one. This one gives them a helper card. So these helper cards here, as I mentioned, we get to use a function. Joe doesn't, but Joe scores for the individual bottles they've got at the end. So these district cards kind of drive where stuff's going to go. And at the end of each round, what you would do is you would then shuffle all those back together and create the stack anew for the next time. Then what would happen is Joe would deliver some barrels. Joe has to have barrels, so it must have made barrels at any point. And had they had barrels, which they did do, they would put them in their stills area, and then they would deliver them out to their buildings in order. So there's no kind of rule for Joe in terms of how far they can go, unlike yourself, and they would deliver them. So the most important building is obviously the casino, then we have the clubs, then we have the speakeasies. Joe would deliver them out there, and then they would sell their barrels. How many barrels can they sell? At the moment they could sell 1 barrel, because that's where their purple marker is, and they would sell it if it came from a club or a nightclub. They would sell it because of where they are on the track for, here we go, they're still here, 15. But if they sold it from a speakeasy, they would sell it for 10. And that's kind of how Joe's cards work. And you turn those over each round, and then as we're just about to start the new round, I'll explain what happens. So the turns happen really, really, really quickly. Right, let's dive into kind of just, we got to the end of round 1. Let's go through round 2 now, the setup for round 2. So the first thing you're going to do is return your capos. Right, I use one of these speakeasies as a marker, so we're moving on to round 2 now. It tells me only 3 capos return. So my 3 captains come back to here, and one of them leaves the game, so we'll leave that. And Joe's 3 captains go back to near her board, and one of them leaves the game. The next one is we look at player rounds. Now, as I mentioned, I altered the player round in the last turn. So we look here, and what would happen is Joe's on top. I move down here to give me 2. So you move that over, and you move me up. And there we go. I'm going to go second on this round. Now, had anybody got an operating casino, they would have got $5 for each operating casino that they got, but they didn't. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to shuffle these district cards back up. Okay, so there you go there, and that's ready for the next round. Now these are all Joe's cards that they used in round 1, okay, which means there are 2 left over, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take deck number 3, which is this here, shuffle them all together, and that creates Joe's rounds for cards for this round. And there will be 2 left over from this, which will move on to the next round as well. So that's it. I think that's everything ready for round 2 now. Okay, so we've done round 1. I've got no cash available. It's my safe area up here. I've got 30, 40, 44 up there. But Joe doesn't have a safe. They just use cash, and they've currently got 10, 20, 30, 40, 51. So they're slightly ahead of me on cash, all right? But, you know, that could change as the game goes on. So the first thing we're going to do is do Joe's first move. And here we go. So Joe's first move tells me we're going to move one of her captains to this particular one, which is up here. So we put them on the left. I'll just put that way and show you where that is. Then they're going to move one up on the stills track, so that moves that to there, which means they can now produce 2 barrels, and we're going to move them one up on here as well. So they're already at 10 infamy, okay? Then they're going to move one up on the green track as well. Wow, okay. So they're now at 11 infamy. I think what happens here, now I get to take an action card or and a helper card. Joe doesn't take action cards, but we look at the helper cards. At the moment they've got a red bottle. We're looking here for the one unique one that's got the most value on it. They haven't got this card already. That gives them 10 at the end of the game. So we'll do that, pull out another helper card. Then they're going to place a casino. So unlike you, Joe doesn't play for casinos. What we're looking to do now is essentially put one of their casinos on the board. So we draw from the top of this deck, and we're looking at area 16, all right? So area 16 is over here, but it's full. It's full, okay? So they can't put anything in there, so we put that, put that to one side. There we go. And then we pull out another one. Area 9 next, so this area here, which they can do. What they're going to do, place one of their casinos there, okay? And put that city tile, because they're going to score $1 for each of those city tiles at the end of the game. But look here, they also get this icon which gives them a helper card. So again, we're looking for the highest scoring unique bottle they haven't got. It's going to be that one. So Joe's going to rack up some serious points at the end of the game. And there we go. That's that particular part of that action done. Then Joe is going to deliver barrels. Joe hasn't got any barrels at the moment, so they can't complete that particular action. That's how quick Joe's turns are. So now we look at me, okay? We look at what I want to do. I've got some buildings out there, but some of them are unprotected. I've got this here, which will allow me to send a VIP member out, but I've only got a VIP member of 1. Let's have a look at my action cards I've got here. Allows me to send barrels. That would allow me to get another one there. Let's have a look. Okay, I can only take 1 VIP member because I've not gone that. May have to move up on the tracks. I've got no goons as well. So we are going to, I think, so look, first thing I can do is I could use a helper card if I want. Now I have 2 helper cards. This one gives me another orange card, and this one gives me a city tile. I'm kind of full up on city tiles at the moment, so I don't necessarily need more city tiles. Yeah, let's play that and just get an additional orange card. So we'll play that, keep that face down because you're still going to score it at the end of the game. And now I have another card there. However, I've got some barrels. Maybe I want to start delivering my barrels. So I need to think about getting somebody out to my operating stills so I can start picking up from my operating stills. I've got 1 person in my VIP area here. I've only got that on 1 as it stands at the moment. So what can we do? We can, oops, sorry, that should be back down there. We can send somebody out potentially. Let's do this then, okay? We'll move on to here. So I'm going to move my capo up here, which gives me this. And I can add a family member to my VIP area. I can't because there's only 1, but I can also buy a goon, all right? That first goon is going to cost me 0, so we'll do that. Then we'll move down into this here. And because I put it here, it means I can send a goon out to protect something. So, sorry, not a goon, a family member. They currently cost me 2 influence. I've got 3 influence on there, so that's okay, which means I can send one out to protect my operating stills. That means I can start picking stuff up from there in a wee while, basically. So that's pretty good. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so that's the end of that. Now, at the end of your turn, what you're going to do is take any one of these cards. I'm going to take this particular card, which is going to give me some additional stuff for a VIP room. It's got a 2 influence on there. Hopefully we can get that at some point in the future. Right, okay, so that's the end of my turn. Back over to Joe now. So we have a look at Joe. And Joe's going to send them to the same area. But of course, one of them is taken. This means Joe's capo is going to go there instead. Now this will happen, some of the cards will come out, a couple of times, etc. They're going to move 1 up on their music, which now allows them to sell more, which moves them 1 up on the influence track. There we go. And they're going to sell some barrels. I'm doing quite well here. Joe hasn't produced any barrels recently, So that really works out for me very, very well. On to my next one now. So maybe I want to start thinking about delivering now. So here's what we'll do. We will move up here, okay? Which allows me to move up on a track. So I'm going to move up on the VIP track, which is this one here, which allows me to move up on the infamy. That allows me to take this particular one right here and put it into my VIP room, okay? So I've now got another goon in my VIP room. But if I look down here, because I've chosen this, it allows me to deliver barrels. I've got 2 barrels in here. I can load 2 barrels onto my truck, and I can put this truck anywhere on the map, but it's got to pick them up from my operating stills. It has to be an operating stills, which is there. I've got a movement of 2, and I want to deliver these. This is working out quite well for me. Okay, so I'm going to deliver one to this here, and then we'll move the truck to here, and we'll deliver one to there. Of course, that means I can now sell those, but that means my truck is there now. So I now have to produce more barrels to pick up from my stills to start delivering across the map. The further you move away from your stills, of course, the more movement that you need, or the more turns you need to get there. So that's the end of my go there. As you can see, the turns go pretty quickly. I get to pick up another card as well now. Oops, not those. So what have I not got? I've got one of each. Let's just take another transport card, I think. Right, we're on to Joe's final turn of the game now, basically, of the round now. So we can do this, and they're going to go and they're going to change the area, right? So we look here, they're going to move up there, and they're going to move the area, so the turn order. So first of all, they move down there. That means at the end of the next round, yeah, unfortunately, they're going to force me to pay 4 influence for any of my VIPs, any of my family members I want to send out. But if we also look at this card, it says here that they're going to put out 3 books now. Now, unlike you, they can just put books out on whatever they've done. And we start in order. We go here, have a look what's here. Then we go here, then the park, and then up the infamy track. So we'll take 3 books. Here we go. And we start here. Have they got any crates? Well, no, they haven't got any crates. They haven't done that, okay? Have they got protection in 3, 5, or 7 areas? 1, 2, no, they haven't. They've only got protection in 2 areas there. So then we move down here. Do they have a nightclub and a casino in different areas? No, they don't. Oh, operating, so that one isn't protected yet. No. Do they have a protected speakeasy and a club in the same area? No, they don't. Do they have 3 protected speakeasies? No, they don't. So that's not going to work. Have they got 3 protection out on the board? No, they haven't. Have they moved the middle space on at least 4 tracks? 1, 2, 3. Yes, they have. So they're going to get that. Boom. And they're going to get $10 for them there. So that goes in there. Have they got plus 12 protection? I don't know how that works with Joe. I'll have to confirm that. Have they got a barrel next to a nightclub? No. Have they got a barrel next to a casino? No. So then we go up here, having a look at what they can do. And here we go. They've reached this, so they're going to get $10 and move on their lowest track, which is this one here. And that moves them there. And that gives them $10. Okay, and then for their final one, if they have one left, any left, and they can't fulfill it, what they do is they take their book, they put it on the left-hand space of Central Park here, ignore the bonus, and they gain $10 again. So that you can see how Joe's racking up their cash there, and that's how they've done that there. Right, so that's Joe's go done. Now we're down for my final turn. Okay, so what have I got? I've delivered. Maybe I want to sell some stuff now. Looking where I am, I'm on 15 down there. 5, 6, 7, 8. I should be on there. Yeah, I'm on 8 on that, which means 15. I could sell 2 barrels, I suppose, which means I have to go to the music club, which is going to be... Where can I play a music card? It's that one there. Ah, right, okay. So I want to go here, basically. But unfortunately, they've got 2 players there. Okay, this is going to be my suboptimal move. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move that one to the park, give that, and I'm going to pay them $5 for that privilege. There we go. So they've got that. However, this now allows me to build 2 buildings. I can build either 1 or 2 buildings as either a nightclub or a casino. So if I look out on the board, I can also upgrade my stuff, or I could take over as well, in terms of where the mob has stuff. This could work, but I could get more out here. Can't build on those areas. We've got some mobs coming out in other areas. They're already there. Yeah, this is kind of tricky for me because my options are a little bit limited, and I've also got a maximum of 3 strength. I'm going to get battered as it gets to the. I'm going to get battered as it gets to defending here. All right, so let's do this. Right, so if I look here, I can't afford to build 2 at all. I am going to build 1 nightclub here. That should cost me 12. Minus 3 is 9, but it's going to cost me twice that. It's going to cost me 18 because I'm using it from my safe. So we'll put 20 over there. We'll get 2 back. There we go. So that's 2 back into my safe. Take one of these here and get the bonus from it. So let's do that. We're going to get this, which allows me to move up 1 on any track. So we'll move up on the music track, which moves me up to there. That's all right. And I could take somebody over if I wanted to. I could take over one of their areas. We've only got 1 for 3, or I could build in an area that hasn't got anything on there at the moment. This is quite good down here because there's no cop and there's no there's no mobster down there. So we're going to build down there. So let's do this, and we shall put that building there. Now, I've got an extra city tile from doing that. I'm full up on city tiles here. Here's what I can do. I can put one of these back, and you put them in the middle somewhere, basically on that column there. So that has built that, and I've moved up on that track now. I don't want to build another one because it cost me enough just to build this, basically. But I did move up on the track. So now I get to... So I moved up on the track there. Now I get to play a card and move up on the track as well. So first of all, we'll move up on the track, which puts me on there. Then I'll play this card, which allows me to move up on any track. So let's do that on strength, actually. And then this card, which allows me to move up on the purple there, which moves me into there. So suddenly, I'm in a little bit of better position. I'm going to get a bit more cash from the barrels I sell. Then it allows me to sell my barrels here. Okay, so we'll slide that card into there. That gives me an additional 1 in influence. And now I can sell my barrels. How many barrels can I sell? I can sell up to 3. Well, I've got 2 on the board. Both of them next to Speakeasies. I'm now in this area, so I'll sell both of those for 15. And that gives me a grand total of 30 that I just generated there in income. 1, 20, and 30. And that is ready cash for me now. So you can see, actually, making the decision to build a building has actually worked out better for me because I've now got a bit more on the board now of buildings, and also I've now got a bit more cash to pay here. So that's it. That's the end of this part of the round. The player turns in the round now. Sorry, I've still got to take another card. So we've got 2 greens. I'll take another purple. There we go. Right. So now we're going to move on to the mob war now. Okay, so this happens at the end of each round. And you can see there's a couple of these tiles out here. So we're going to take the mobsters are in various stacks. This will be stack C that comes out now. Okay, so we're going to shuffle these and we'll flip that over. And we know in area 15 it's going to be, we shuffle it, it's going to be Joe Adonis. All right, it's got a strength of 7 there basically. So that's going in area 15. He's got a strength of 7. We find a little 7 token and we put that there. That's not good to defend against. Okay, and then for the next one, here we go. We got in area 16, we got Carlos Gambino, and he's got a strength of 7 as well. So he's going to go in area 16, which is there, and we'll find another 7 token to put on that. Can't find my 7 token. Okay. I'm missing a 7 token. That's there. There we go. So they've got a strength of 7 there. All right. So that's the first thing you do. We've loaded this board up now. I don't have any associates here. So this is going to cost me big. You're going to see me start falling apart now because I concentrated on selling barrels. I should have really got an associate. That would have helped me here, but I didn't have the cash to pay for an associate. So there we go. All right, so we've now loaded up the board. We know what the strength is. Okay, so now what's going to happen is we're going to go through area by area and find out who's attacking who where. So here we can see that all the reds, wherever there's one of these brown tokens, there's nobody against them there, so nothing's going to happen there. But here there's no mobster, so that's okay. Haven't been attacked here. Let's go into this area here. We look here and they've got a 4 strength there. Okay, and generally what would happen is Joe would defend their buildings based on cash, based on how strong they are. So in fact, let's start it over here. Okay, so we know that Joe has a strength of 7. Sorry, that the mobster here has a strength of 7. That means Joe has to pay 7 cash. Always has a strength, just has to pay the cash out for it. So 1, 2, 3, goes back. They paid 7, they've successfully defended there. Then they're going to come to me, okay? This is where it starts to fall apart for me, because I need to beat that strength of 7. I can't here, because what's going to happen is that my strength is 3, plus a goon is 4, and I can't do that. Had I got one of these as an associate, so say I'd taken on this as an associate, okay, then I could have paid them $6 to get an extra strength of 5, or I could have had more goons. I didn't. I've got that. So I'm going to lose this here. So these go out of the game, boom, and one of theirs goes on there, okay? Oh, I forgot to say, when you put these the new mobsters out, if there's any empty spaces, then one of their speakeasies would go on there, okay? So that's not great. Up here, 2 buildings, got to defend them both. A strength of 7 and a strength of 7. I have planned this terribly, because I don't have a strength of 7. I have a strength of 3, 4. I have no other strength to do this. I'm going to lose both of those, which is terrible. And they're going to put speakeasies on there. Oh my God. Okay. I think we put new tiles out for those as well. I could be wrong, but I think we put new tiles out when we put fresh speakeasies on. So suddenly my scoring is going to be absolutely atrocious for this. No defense to do here because nothing came out last game. Here, mobster only. There, a strength of 4 against Joe. So Joe is going to pay another 4 there. So that gives him that. And that's it. So that is the mob war done. Sheesh. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put the new tiles out on the board for the next. Actually, we do that at the end, I think, yeah. Yeah, we'll put that on at the end. Now we're going to unveil these cops here. Okay, so we've got a cop going in area 3. We've got a cop going in area 5. We've got a cop going in area 10. And a cop going in area 7. Okay, so that's that. So now we're going on to the kind of payout, and here's where we look at all of the zones, and we're going to find out kind of who's got overall control, who gets most money. So we look here, right, okay, so we know that the mob has got 1, 2, 3 zones that they control, 1, 2, 3. I've got a zone here. Now my building is unprotected, there's nothing next to it, and normally if there was a mob building in here, or a cop in here, that wouldn't count. However, because none of those are in there, I actually get that. That means I'm going to get $20. Just for having that one building, okay? Then we look over here, right? So we have Joe has got a protected building just here. There is a mob building, but that's protected, so that means they win that. Here, they have 2 unprotected buildings, and there's a cop, so they don't get that there. Here, we've got the mob has got 1, and up here, Joe's got yet another unprotected building, and there's a cop, so they didn't get that. That means Joe is going to get 10, basically. So you look at the number of people in there and then kind of work out what how much cash they're going to get. This is the area that's going to hurt the most for me. So first of all, we look here. There's a mob there, okay? Then we go here. There is mob there, but Joe's got a protected building, so they're going to get that. I look here, I've got 2 buildings. Both of them are unprotected. That means I don't win anything there, so I get nothing. That means Joe is going to get 30. So from this scoring, from this payout, they're going to get 30, 40. Okay, so let's just do it this way. We get a 50 and give 10 back. And I, just from what I got here, I'm going to get 20. And that goes into my safe. Joe doesn't have a safe. I have a safe. So I'm kind of doing all right, but that really hurt me over there. Right, last bit to do now is we're going to repopulate the board with what's going on next. So we take the next set of mob tiles, and we know where the mob is coming out next. So in area 10, which is there, in area 6, which is there, and this will be area 9. So that's there. That's where the mob's coming out. Then we load it with the police, and we know the police are going to come out area 6, which is there, area 15, which is there, area 1, which is there, and area 16, which is there. Whew. That is the end of an entire round. As you can see, it's really not going my way. I didn't play it optimally. I've got 30 in my bank. In my hand. I've got 20, 35. I've got 40 in my safe. Joe is leading the march at the moment. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 114. So I've got to really seriously think about what I can do about trying to take over these kind of high scoring areas, how I can start selling barrels, moving up this infamy track to try and get more cash in, all the while thinking about how I can build my strength up. Is there anything else that I can do? Will those boat tiles help me? What else can I do to shore up my abilities, get more goons, etc. Excuse me, that will allow me to survive and hopefully kind of profit in the next 2 rounds. I would move that marker down, move on to round number 3, recall the 3 back, add the next cards into it, and that's it. That the game would start again. That, suboptimally played, might be in a couple of small errors as well, but that is a round of solo of Speakeasy from Vital Lacerda. And there we go. That is a brief overview and a round, very suboptimal round from my perspective, on how to play Speakeasy from Vital Lacerda. Look, I think first of all to say, I know it's prototype stage, but I think obviously production quality is going to be out of this world on this because it looks fantastic. I think Ian O'Toole's artwork, once you get used to the iconography, and it doesn't take that long to get used to, totally makes sense. The board looks a little bit busy when you first look at it. And like all Vital's games, when you first play it, you get slightly overwhelmed by the number of actions you can take. But once you start to kind of play the game and play a few rounds of it, then you understand those actions. You understand what you've got to do to try and make this path to victory. They're best played with a strategy and that is kind of medium to long term rather than a reactive strategy. Of course, things are going to happen on the board, which means you're going to have to react as well. So you're going to have to cook up a few strategies for it. But what I like about it thematically is absolutely everything is on point. It makes total sense why I'm producing liquor, why I have operating buildings, why I am collecting from my stills to deliver elsewhere, why when I have no liquor I can go to the docks to get boats from to get liquor from boats on the docks, and maybe I just want to be a bit strong army and get some free liquor from them, so I have to have the strength for that. And it makes strength that it makes sense that my strength has to increase as the game progresses, that the number of the strength of the bosses that start to come on the board increases as the game progresses. It starts to make it obviously a little bit more taxing, starts to challenge you as you go through. Like all these things, you should never play one of these games to try and do everything unless it's your learning game. You need to try different strategies. Do I want to go for a distillery heavy strategy where I'm producing as much as possible? Excuse me. Do I want to go for a build heavy strategy? I'm trying to build as much as possible. Do I want to go for a strength heavy strategy where I'm taking over mobsters areas as much as possible? And you can try various strategies and see what happens, but the game will obviously, you'll have to adapt as the game progresses. So I think when you first start playing it, as I say, you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed with the number of options, but once you play through a couple of rounds, it starts to make sense. If anything, every time the game has ended, I've always thought, God, one more round, and I really, I'd have done this. But it feels like it cuts me off just at the time when I'm just getting things going. That's not down to the game, that's down to me not being potentially aggressive enough when I first start the game. So, you know, this is not a game where you can sit idly back and wait for things to happen. You have a limited number of turns. Obviously, I think it's 13 turns in the game. So you have a limited number of turns, and you've got to absolutely maximize those to your best of your ability. And you can only do that by effectively using the action selection and the action cards that you get at the same time. Balancing everything with this increasing sense of threat and dread that you get from mobsters starting to take over the board, from Joe's deck getting progressively more aggressive as they go through. We've got some level 4 cards here, and you know they do a lot more. Joe is very aggressive, will start to build, will start to protect, will start to generate more income faster than you. So you've got to find a way to try and neutralize that, or at least counteract that in the best way possible. Now, this is on normal difficulty. I've got it here. There is an easy, there's normal, there's a hard and a super hard as well, I think. And I don't think I'd ever play super hard because I keep getting my ass kicked on normal difficulty. I have beat it once on normal. I've beat it a number of times on the easy, but I beat it once on normal. I think that goes to show that the work that David and the guys put into the solo in creating this adaptive solo absolutely comes through. Depending on how you like your solos, the solo is super easy to operate. You have the cards, which increase in kind of strength as the game progresses. Excuse me. So it's super easy. You saw the speed of Joe's turns as that went along. Joe is quite aggressive in gaining money, so you have to factor that in about, you know, yeah, okay, they potentially are going to gain. How do I stop them at the end of each round getting more money from that area? Well, I've got to start building in their area. If I'm building in their area where they are, their district where they are, then I've got to start protecting those buildings at the same time. So you're playing against the game and you're playing against Joe, and Joe is quite an aggressive opponent, but works super fast, super easy, all starts to make total sense as the game goes on. So much to like here. I think in terms of where it sits in recent Vital Lacerdas. Now, I thought Inventions was fantastic. I do love Weather Machine as well, but I understand the abstract nature on Weather Machine, and maybe a little bit less so with Inventions, kind of put some people off. Thematically, this isn't abstract at all. Everything happens for a reason. You can completely understand the reason that of why it's happening in Speakeasy, and I think that's a big thing. I think for those that may have drifted away from Vital in the last few games, this is one of those games that will bring you back into the fold. It's surprisingly accessible as well as a game, despite how it initially looks and how you may initially feel in that area of excuse me, that element of brain burn that you might get initially with all of the potential actions. I say once you've played it a couple of rounds, you'll understand it, and it is surprisingly accessible. I can do a full solo game of this in just over an hour and 30 minutes maximum, but I would generally say around about kind of 75 minutes if I'm not thinking about it too much. And the more you play it, obviously, the more intuitive the turns become. And that is a huge thing for a solo game. It takes up a lot of space, all right? So it does take up a lot of table space. And I can't shy away from the fact that the setup and the resetting of the game takes quite a while. You've got lots of these little tiles to sort out and positioning things on the board as well. Now, in my prototype version, everything came in baggies. Obviously, in the final version, as have happened with all Eagle Griffin games, is that I should imagine they will have a storage solution which will make it a lot easier to get the game to the table. But it does take a little bit to set up, reset, and put away. However, it's been on my table almost constantly now for the last 8 to 9 days, something like that. And I do take the time in between each game to actually completely reset it as well. You could leave the same tiles on the board in most cases, but you get most out of it by completely resetting the game and seeing how you have to adapt to these variant strategies. So yeah, setup a little bit long, table space takes up quite a bit of table space, but once you're playing it, the speed of the gameplay, the kind of the way that everything just makes sense absolutely clicks with this. And I think thematically it's one of Vital's most thematic games he's ever produced because everything totally makes sense. Obviously I love the era as well, so you know I was really excited to get something of this era, but for me I think it is absolutely fantastic and I can't wait to keep on playing this and seeing what the final version is like. So that is Speakeasy from Vital Lacerda with the artwork by Ian O'Toole, which hits Kickstarter on the 26th of September. The link will be in the description below. If it looks like your kind of game, then absolutely kind of, you know, go and check out the campaign. Is it worth it from a pure solo perspective? Really a subjective question, because obviously Vital's games are a little bit costly, but I know this hits a mark for me on so many ways, just for the speed of play, for the thematic nature of it, for the fact that I like it, and the fact I can feel very clever or very stupid in the same game. So for me, it's worth it, but you know, your mileage may vary on that because Vital's games are expensive. I haven't played it with anybody else yet. I will be playing it at some point with Mike Dennis from Ready Steady Play and other people. We've got GridCon coming up as well. But I think it's fantastic. So I say, if you are interested in it, if you think it sparks an interest in you, then go and check out the Kickstarter in the link below. So thank you very much for watching me on this long, not a rules teach, but an overview video of how to solo, of the solo experience of Speakeasy from Vital Lacerda. My name's Mark. This is Not Board Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out our other video. And one final thought. If you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Now, in the immortal words of Jimmy Cagney, you dirty rats, I'm going to set this back up and I'm going to help back in and do some rum running. Bye-bye.